For 4.1 practice and homework, I'm actually going to start with number 6 and then I'll go up and work through the story problems. So I am going to leave 6, 7, and 8 alone. They have already been set up for you. So just pay attention. Are you adding or are you subtracting? So add, subtract. They've already been lined up for you. So I'm going to help line these ones up if you need that help. So out to the side, somewhere on your paper, we need to show this work. So I can see this is 1 and 25 hundredths, 2 and 39 hundredths. So they both have a ones place, they both end in the hundredths place. They should line up really nicely. So we have 1 and 25 hundredths, 2 and 39 hundredths, and we are adding these together. So we're just going to add and drop that decimal straight down. So I'm going to let you do that work. Number 10 is 4 and 8 hundredths. This is 3 and 975 thousandths. So this has one extra place. I need to line up this 4 in the ones place and the 3 in the ones place. And I've got to put that 4 up on the top because that's what was listed first. 4 and 8 hundredths, and we are taking away 3 and 975 thousandths. So I'm going to put a 0 right here for that placeholder, and it looks like we are subtracting. You cannot do 0 minus 5. We have to come borrow, and so now you can finish that problem. Again, you're not going to be able to do 0 minus 9, so you're going to have to regroup that. So go ahead and give that a try. Hey, next up we have number 11. So again, this is 91 hundredths, and we have 487 thousandths. So we're going to have to add that 0 again. So we have 91 hundredths and then 487. So we want to add that 0. Now remember, we cannot do 0 minus 7, so we're going to have to borrow. We're going to have to borrow again when we get to 1 minus 8 because we're going to take that away, and it's going to be 0 minus 8, and we can't do that. So we're going to have to borrow here. I'll kind of walk you through some borrowing. So you're going to do 10 minus 7. Now we can't do 0 minus 8. So we're regrouping. Now we're doing 10 minus 8 and then 8 minus 4, and the decimal comes straight down. So go ahead and make sure you have 6 through 11 completed, and then we'll go through these and just read them together and make sure we understand, are we adding or subtracting? I'm going to let you line them up though. So make sure your decimals are lined up. So out to the side, you have room to do work. If you need to get more scratch paper, do that. So D'Angelo babysits for his neighbor. Over a 2-week period, he babysat 3 and 8/10 hours the first week, 5 and 25 hundredths hours the second week. How many total hours did he babysit over the 2 weeks? So he babysat this long, he babysat this long, and wants to put them together. What is the total? So on this one, we are going to be adding these together. Make sure your 5 and your 3 are lined up so that your decimals are lined up as well. So go ahead and solve out number 1 and come back for number 2 if you need help with it. Babe Ruth, a professional baseball player known for hitting home runs, had a batting average of 342 thousandths. Hank Aaron, another record home run hitter, had a batting average of 305 thousandths. How much greater was Babe Ruth's than Hank Aaron? So Babe Ruth's was a little bit more. So we're not putting them together. We're finding the distance between them. We want to subtract those. So go ahead and line those up and subtract those out. The pH level of a substance is a measure of how acidic or alkaline it is. The pH of lemonade is 2.6, 2 and 6/10, while orange juice has a pH of 4 and 9 hundredths. What is the difference? So we're not putting them together. Here's lemonade. Here's orange juice. We're finding the distance between them and their pH levels. So again, we want to subtract, make sure the 2 and the 4 get lined up. So our decimals get lined up. We're going to have to add that 0 in here to make sure that there's the right amount of places. A recipe for blintzes, a very thin type of pancake, calls for 600th liter of melted butter and 236,000th liter of milk. What is the total amount of butter and milk needed for the recipe? So we're dumping in the butter, we're dumping in the milk, and we're seeing how much there is now together. So we need to add those. So I can see this only has 2 places. This has 3. I need to make sure those decimals are lined up, and I'm going to have to add a 0 so that they have the same amount of places. Okay, and number 5, Jared ran 2 sprints in track practice. The time for the first one was 4 64/100ths of a second. His time for the second one was 4 3/10. What is the total time for the 2? So we're taking both of them and putting them together to get that total. So we need to add those together. The 4 at the beginning should be lined up, then the decimal. So we're going to have to add a 0 here to make sure they have the same amount of places. So make sure they're lined up and go ahead and get 1 through 5 answered.